Are you familiar with what the word etiquette means? If so, are you aware of how etiquette plays a part in your daily professional, personal, and social lives? Do you know the impact that etiquette has on the relationships and the quality of relationships that you build with your patients and colleagues as a healthcare professional? If not to worry, stay tuned for the rest of this video where I'll be covering this in detail. What is up, everyone? This is Shweta, the founder of Healthy Dynamics. We are a coaching practice that helps healthcare professionals from non-English speaking countries improve their language and communication skills in order to build better, more trustworthy and credible relationships with their patients, as well as stand out in the workplace as a person of excellence. Now, you might hear me sounding a little bit rough and a little bit not so well. I have been battling with an infection for the past 3 weeks, and I'm only on the tail end of recovering from it. It's been a massive struggle for me for the past month or so. It's the longest I've actually been out of action. So if I do sound a little bit hoarser than usual, I apologize, but I will get through this video with the same level of enthusiasm as I always do. So if you remember from one of my very previous posts, I did mention the word etiquette in it, and I did go into a little bit of detail on LinkedIn on what the word etiquette means. So if you haven't checked that out already, please go ahead and do so. But to put it very simply, etiquette is an all-encompassing concept which involves the use of all the different aspects of your personality, your values, your beliefs, how you conduct yourself, your decorum, as well as the cultural context in which you are doing this, that is specific to both a cultural setting, a social setting, and also a professional setting. Now, it may sound like a really broad concept, and I'm not going to lie, it is a very broad concept, but we will explore a couple of aspects of it in this video. So just to reinforce again the definition of what etiquette is, it essentially implies the decorum, mannerisms, politeness, respect, and conduct in different situations and in different scenarios. Now, when I was actually doing the research for this video, I realized that the concept of etiquette can broadly be classified into two categories, and that is professional as well as cultural/social. Now, if I was to do both of them in this video, it's going to take a very long time, and I know that not everyone has the attention span to sit through that. So this week, I'm going to be focusing exclusively on the importance, role, and the consequences of etiquette in the professional space in a healthcare setting. So in other words, what is etiquette? What does it mean in a healthcare setting? And why is it important to uphold that? And this goes back to the same principles of, at the end of the day, we as healthcare professionals want to be trusted. We want to be held credible. We want to be number one when a patient is thinking of coming to us for treatment or for help or for support. And having a good understanding of the principles of etiquette, as well as enforcing them and implementing them into our daily professional practice, can really go a long way in really standing out in the minds of your patients. Now, let's get into it. Now, in a very broad professional sense, we have looked at, in that very LinkedIn post that I mentioned, what etiquette actually means. So etiquette actually plays a significant role in communication, and it is incorporated and interpreted in a different manner within different cultures or in different professional settings. Now, let's go into a non-healthcare setting so that you understand the analogy of where I'm coming from. So, for example, the professional and social etiquette of a company like, say, IBM, or say Deloitte or KPMG, or those really big four consulting companies, that code will be completely different to a brand new startup, or even companies like you have that are up and coming, or even the social media companies such as Facebook, Google, Shopify, things like that. So how over there the employees conduct themselves, how people talk to their subordinates, people talk to their bosses, and how the communication works in both sets of companies will be completely different. And also, this also plays into a very big role into how it works in the healthcare setting, regardless of what role you're playing in healthcare, whether it's as a doctor, whether it's as a physiotherapist, whether it's even as a medical receptionist. All of this plays a part into what a patient will really think, feel about you as a healthcare professional. Again, now going back to another post that I did not too long ago on what professionalism is, because etiquette and professionalism are tied in quite closely. So if you remember that particular post, I asked a lot of people, or I posed the question as to what professionalism actually used to mean, or what we traditionally know professionalism to be. And whether it's, no matter what field of healthcare you're in, the commonly held assumption or narrative is that a professional, quote unquote professional person, is somebody who is very well dressed. So usually, in a uniform or in like a suit and tie, very crisp and really well presented that way. So someone who's very well groomed, someone who actually is like a walking textbook. So someone who actually knows what they are talking about, and you can pretty much ask them any health related questions and they will be able to give it to you in the snap of a finger. Someone who has a lot of accolades associated with their name. So, you typically will have, FRCP, MBBS, PhD, whatever else you can think of. So, and also the fact that they are someone who is really not building an attachment of some sort with a patient. So it's not really, where traditionally they're told that, your job is to treat a patient and help them and support them, not be friends with them, not really form some sort of a bond with them. And that's not entirely wrong. We are going to look at the concept of ethics in a couple of weeks' time, where I will be covering this in more detail. But traditionally, that is what we know professionalism to be. And in my post on LinkedIn, I remember mentioning the example of Dr. Rangan Chatterjee. So Dr. Rangan Chatterjee is a very influential and famous GP doctor in UK. And he first made an appearance on a UK TV show called Doctor in the House, where as a GP, instead of having patients come to his clinic, he would actually go out into people's homes and actually stay there for a week, so that he gets to see firsthand their habits, and how the family actually is in terms of how they maintain their health, and then come up with plans and treatment options and really support them on their healing journey. Now, he has a massive YouTube channel, and he has also gone on to launch a very big, very popular podcast called Feel Better, Live Longer, or something like that. And but in that particular episode, if you see episodes of Doctor in the House on YouTube, there are a lot of really good comments that have been mentioned in that, and I will link that in the screenshots over here. So in that show, when people have watched it, they have routinely said that Dr. Chatterjee is such a kind, caring, empathetic doctor who really listens, and he really shows compassion. And in this day and age, that's what professionalism really means. So it does not matter what you're dressed up as. A doctor or any kind of healthcare professional can be dressed up like this. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. The qualifications and experience don't really mean that much. It all comes down to those really soft skills, those skills of relatability, the skills of compassion, empathy, active listening, everything I talk about on this channel, as well as on my content in LinkedIn, on how they are the most professional in the healthcare space. So someone who you can relate to, someone who you can open up to, someone who's not going to judge you, someone who gives you full autonomy and respect, someone who is positive, someone who is considerate, kind, caring, empathetic, compassionate, and a good listener. And also doesn't treat you as a number in the system, someone who actually treats you as a human patient and understands what your needs, your pains, your struggles are, and treats you in that respect, exclusively and in a customized manner. So professionalism and etiquette plays a really big part. So when people say you have to be professional, or you have to present yourself professionally, that's really what it means. These are the etiquette concepts of what being professional is in the healthcare space. So that's the very first concept. Now, another major part that etiquette plays is in the role of body language. And again, I have done a post on LinkedIn about body language in the past. So a lot of etiquette in the professional space as a healthcare professional is tied closely to the body language that we are displaying the non-verbal communication signs that we are sending to our patients in order to communicate with them. And this can go into a lot of different things. So these are things such as your eye contact, your posture, the tone of your voice, how open or folded your arms are, how open or folded your legs are, how forward facing, how leaning forward or how leaning backward you are. Are you quite a touchy-feely person? Again, we will look at this in ethics in a few weeks' time. So these different aspects come into play when you're talking about etiquette, body language, and how that means to be professional in the healthcare space. Because remember, 80% of our communication as healthcare professionals or otherwise is actually non-verbal. So mastering that is very, very crucial and very, very important in order for a patient to have a positive experience with you, and also for you to really gain that trust and credibility as a healthcare professional with your patients. We are halfway through the video, so if you'd like to stay in touch and be updated on weekly videos on how you can become a more effective communicator as a healthcare professional and to learn more strategies about how you can excel in this place, make sure that you subscribe to my channel and also hit the notification bell so that you know when the next video is coming up. So please make sure that you do that. Hit the subscribe button and be notified as to when the next video is coming up, and they're usually done on a weekly basis, and you can stay updated and stay tuned with that. Moving on. Now, so we've looked at so far two aspects of etiquette and healthcare professionalism. That is the importance of body language, as well as the importance of what actually professionalism means in the new day and age. Now, some other aspects where I feel that you can display and be aware of really good etiquette as a healthcare professional are as follows. A big one is actually introducing yourself to the patient. I've been in the healthcare space, working in the space for almost 2 years. And when I speak to my patients, it really, really surprises me when I ask them who their referring doctor is or who actually they were consulting with before they actually came to us. And most people actually don't know who their doctor is or who they were consulting with, and that really surprises me. Like, for me, I introduce myself in every single one of these videos. I introduce myself in all my social media channels. And I introduce myself when I'm speaking to my patients, and I find it really surprising. Now, it may not seem like a really big deal, but introducing yourself gives a very powerful impression on the patient's mind as to who exactly you are, and they will remember you in a good or bad way, depending on what sort of job you do with your patient. And that is very, very crucial. So it's very important that you introduce yourself. When I say introduce, don't just go on into this is my experience, this is my qualification, just what your full name is, or if you are a doctor, whatever your surname is. So that is very important. So introducing yourself to every single properly to patients is very, very important. It helps them feel safe, it makes them feel comfortable, and also they feel that they can trust you and they can confide in you. So that's introducing yourself is very, very important. Another big one is to maintain a proper dress code. Now, what proper means is very subjective, and that's very dependent on culture to culture, organization to organization, depending on what the setting is. And I'm aware that in a lot of the healthcare jobs, you actually have to wear a uniform. But regardless of that, having a proper, just being well-groomed is quite vital. Again, that leaves an impression on your patient, one way or the other, as to how professional you are and whether you really are someone that they can trust or someone that they can find some sort of a credibility in. Now, obviously, not everyone has to necessarily wear a suit and tie and clean shoes, leather shoes and all that, but just being well-groomed, wearing fitting clothes that are not clean and they don't have creases everywhere. If you have a name badge, make sure that you really definitely wear that. Again, all these things also makes the patient feel comfortable, and it just gives them the trust and assurance that you are someone that they can go to. Now, another very important concept in maintaining good professional etiquette in the healthcare space is justice, so the concept of justice. So when you are giving care to a patient, you have to be fair. So you cannot discriminate against a patient based on their gender, their age, their religion, their race, their ethnicity, their sexuality. You can't do that. So everyone is entitled to the same level of care and treatment as a patient with a healthcare professional. The next concept is of how generous, friendly, approachable, and reliable you are. So as a healthcare professional, there is a big concept of duty of care. So you have to provide your patients with the best care possible, and you have a duty to actually provide them to the most appropriate care that they need. So the duty of care, or in other words, beneficence, that's a big word, so I'm not going to go into that in a lot of detail, but duty of care plays a huge part, again, in etiquette as a healthcare professional. Another big one, accountability. Now, accountability is something that everyone can use, everyone can do. With accountability, I feel that it's really missing in a lot of the spaces in the professional, personal, and social ways that we are, as a generation, we are not held accountable. And that is very important as a healthcare professional. So in other words, you have to take responsibility for whatever you say, do, how you treat, how you make a patient feel. Everything comes back onto you. Now, yes, in some situations, yes, you will be in a position where you can blame COVID, you can blame, if you're in the UK, you can blame NHS or the healthcare system, you can blame your workplace. But when it comes to the one-on-one interaction or the equation that you have with the patient, if that has gone one way or the other, or if the patient has had an experience one way or the other, you have to take responsibility and ownership of that and see what you can do better in the future in order to either regain their trust or just not repeat that mistake again. And the other one, obviously, is that the concept of fidelity. So it entails that healthcare professionals are meant to be and have to be trustworthy and dependable people. So people have to really trust you. People have to have that credibility in you. They have to be able to rely on you. And they have to have that confidence that you as a healthcare professional will do what is best for your patient as well as for their health. That's a huge one. And again, these are things that I have mentioned before. Respecting patient autonomy, lots of content on that you have to, as a healthcare professional, respect the fact that every client, your patient or client has the option of either accepting or declining a form of treatment. And also, if they want a certain type of treatment, you have to honor it and respect it and not really allow your judgment, your opinions that are not really evidence-based to play a part in how you conduct yourself with them or how you treat them or how you actually support them in any way. So having patient autonomy is, again, a really, really huge one, and really respecting and adhering to that. And a huge one is being honest and transparent and authentic with your patients, or in other words, veracity. So as a healthcare professional, I've mentioned before, you are not always in a position to give good news to a patient, whether it's about their health, whether it's about the prognosis of an illness or their symptoms or anything like that. You should never withhold information from your patients. You should never sugarcoat it in some way. You should not interject your own opinions and judgments on it. You have to really give it to them in a kind way, but also in a very honest, authentic, and transparent way, so that there is no smoke and mirrors, there is no one's being kept in the dark, and there's no room for error. So things like you have to respect their privacy, things like even like if a patient is having an end of life kind of situation, you have to follow what they want you to follow. And also getting the patient's family involved when it comes to, when it comes to end of life, if they want to switch off the life support, or when it comes to like organ donation. So all these things, also you have to take that consent and how to deal with the patient's family, and also really to respect their boundaries and their privacy is very, very important. So these are some things that I have covered today that goes into play into how the principles really are of etiquette in the healthcare space as a healthcare professional. So just being aware of these principles and some of the strategies that I have suggested to you over here can really go a long way in not only having that little tool belt for you in order to deal with any sort of patient in the future, but also really to respect them as individuals with individual personalities, unique individual needs and pain points, and again, really treat them as a human as well, instead of a number in the system, and really being considerate, kind, compassionate, being a good listener, showing positive body language, respecting privacy. There's a whole heap of elements that go into this one. So hope you found this video useful. Again, if you have any comments, any thoughts, any feedback on the video, make sure that you leave them in the comment section below. And next week we will be looking at some of the cultural aspects of etiquette. So in other words, how does culture, so culture not just in terms of the cultural background of patients, but also organizational culture in different healthcare settings, how they play into a part as healthcare professionals, and how we can be aware of that and incorporate that into our practice, when we're dealing with our colleagues or communicating with our patients. So again, hope you found this video valuable, enjoyable, and useful. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button in order to be informed of weekly videos when they come out, and also hit the notification bell to be updated with everything. And thank you very much for watching and your attention. I will see you next week, same time. Thank you.